Hello YouTube, how's it going? I know this review is very late, the game's been out for about a week, but I really got busy with Crisis Core and I wanted to play this game multiple times to understand why I think it's so painfully mediocre. So High on Life is basically the equivalent of Rick and Morty game. It is, like, it's not a direct Rick and Morty game, at least I haven't seen any Easter eggs that interpret that this universe is connected, but you know how Rick and Morty is, they can basically swap to any universe in any plane of existence. They've been on The Simpsons, they've been in multiverse, and it's technically all canon, similar to how The Witcher uses portals to justify a Geralt being in Soul Calibur 4 or in Monster Hunter. But either way, High on Life. So it's a first person shooter. The narrative is basic enough. Basically, you're this underachiever child. Your family wants you to pick a path in life, but you really just don't care. And your family's kind of condescending. Your mother and father don't really offer that much support in the sense that they just tell you to find your own way. And your sister is a pretentious asshole. She really is. But basically, life throws a curveball. Aliens invade the planet on the intent of turning humans into drugs that they smoke, similar to weed. And your job is to basically stop this from happening and save humanity. You're teleported into space by the sentient gun named Kenny, who's a Galarian. I forgot what the name, but they're basically an alien of guns, and he teleports you to space in order for you to develop the skills in order to fight the G3 cartel, who are these mobsters who basically enslave races for their own selfish need. So the game is basically written to be a Rick and Morty show. Like, if you've watched that show, any of Justin Roiland's shows, you'll understand the humor here. If you don't like those shows, like I believe the other one's called Solar Opposites, you're not gonna like this game at all, because the writing is a one-to-one recreation from it. And the issue is that while the characters are very forgettable, the game does try to play on your expectations by offering slight changes to the narrative depending on your choices. Like, I played through the game 3 times, and during my second playthrough, your sister, who's being a condescending ass, basically, because suddenly you become this bounty hunter with the help of this now retired and kind of wannabe bounty hunter named Gene, who lost his legs and is handicapped from his escapades. He basically states he'll give you all this equipment in exchange. If you die, he takes your house. But over time, he does develop a bond between you and your sister in a more cliche way. He just, like, becomes more of a father aspect, because your parents go away on vacation and they're on the planet during the alien invasion. But either way, your sister, now that the dynamics have shifted, because now you're this huge bounty hunter who's like going off to kill gang lords and a huge cartel, she's now the underdog and she starts to lash out on you. And the character is very just, like, you never really call her out on her garbage. She just, like, accepts that, hey, I'm being an asshole, I'm just gonna keep being an asshole. And most of the characters are like that. They don't act like normal people, because I don't know if they had a quarter or not, but they would say fuck and shit so many times that the word would just dissipate. Like, you would just expect it to happen despite the fact it had no reason to happen. Now, I think it's because of Justin Roiland's type of acting and his work. Like, if you've seen the behind the scenes, especially the one where he's drunk while he does Morty and Rick's voice, he kind of just goes off script and just says whatever he wants, which is fine. But in a TV show, it's not as repetitive because you understand what's going on, and the show will keep going. Like, movies and games are so much different in the sense that TV will keep going no matter what, but games will only go as far as the player is willing to go. If the player just decides, I'm not going to do anything, the game will never continue. It's like the Dark Souls philosophy. You have to get good if you want to continue forward. But in this game, the dialogue is just so mind-numbingly poor because they just use profanity so much. It's like that episode of South Park when they make the word shit legal, like it's okay to use, and they use it so much that it just loses all impact. And that's the same thing here. The dialogue becomes so rubbish that you eventually just tune out, and I would just be like, oh my god, just shut up. You can turn off the dialogue for the guns, but the guns do offer insight for what they're trying to convey, but the problem is if it was written better, it would have been not as annoying as it is. Again, you can't turn off the characters that you have to interact with, but it just, again, once you get halfway through the game, you'll just be like, okay, they're just gonna say another curse word. They'll just say, oh, this guy just wants to fucking talk to us. I was like, do you really need to say the word fuck for that sentence? Like, there's no reason for it. Like, it's that person on Xbox who just discovered the F word and just says it over and over again to try and sound edgy, or uses certain profanity to make them sound cooler. That's kind of how it's coming off as. Now, each of the guns do have unique personalities. Well, the number one thing that High on Life has going for it is the art style. Like, this game is incredibly creative. Like, the aliens, the worlds. The best comparison I can make it to is Journey to the Savage Planet, which you haven't played. You should definitely play if you like this game. Or even if you just find the art style appealing. That game is an incredible gem. But the art style and the animation and the creativity of this game is definitely up there. Like, everything looks so incredible of how it's designed, from the guns, the aliens, the worlds, like everything, even the skybox, even though it kind of looks a little dated. Like, this is a small studio, so I give them kind of like a pass on this, but for a small studio, they did a really good job with the art direction and the style of this entire world. Like, each planet does feel alien because it has like different life forms. It has weird things. You see aliens like talking to one another, sitting down, eating weird food. There's even a parody on Applebee's with Space Applebee's, and you can see the aliens are actually eating weird alien food. But when they bring you your food, it looks like human food, which is a little weird because, you know, humans haven't discovered space travel, and the first discovery of humanity is that they're being turned into drugs. So it's a little weird that they have food that's, you know, can be eaten by humans so frequently, despite the fact that you're like literally a product. It doesn't mesh the world well, but nevertheless, the game does have that running for it, because the second you start to play this game and get into the space exploration part of it, it is definitely a treat. Now, as a bounty hunter, your job is to go and kill bounties in order to rise up and finally take down the G3 cartel and save the world. It's that classic tale. And the boss fights are very inventive. It's clear they took inspirations from Borderlands, because they come out just like Borderland villains. They have a little cinematic, a song, and a dance, and their name comes up. It's pretty cool. And the boss fights are unique. They're definitely a treat. Each one is unique, and it rewards you with a special item at the end of the fight. It's a sentient gun, and you use that in an array of functions. The guns, for the most part, have two functions. You have a shotgun, pistol, needler from the needler from Halo is refashioned in this game. You have a minion gun, and they all have secondary fires, which are used for puzzles. Now, the puzzles are mediocre. They're serviceable. Nothing to complain about them. You have platforming challenges that become increasingly more elaborate as you get more mobility options. You get a dash, a jetpack. I would say the combat has promise. Like, it could be a bit slow. Like, I can see where they were going for, but they clearly took inspiration from Doom, and specifically Doom Eternal with the dashing and the jumping and all that, but it just feels a bit slower than Doom. Like, the projectiles for your guns, just specifically Kenny, your main gun, just goes way too slow. I would say, like, if they sped it up maybe by 10%, it would have been way better. But it's serviceable combat, and they do mix together a lot of different options to complement the comedy of the game. And yeah, it definitely is a game that doesn't try and take itself too seriously, despite it tries to have those profound moments. I would say it's a decent experience. They do try to create options with different dialogue options, and it does change the story, but in cosmetic ways. No matter what you do, the story will still end the way it does, and even after you beat the game, you can still explore the planets in order to get collectibles, and the game has a ton of collectibles. They're basically these sentient boxes that you break open. What else? You have to rescue humans who are basically in cages, and if you beat the game, there is a post-credits ending. I won't spoil what you need to get that. It's already on my YouTube channel if you just want to watch it, but there is something for people who are willing to explore, or just, like, you know, critically think for a second about the narrative of the game. What else about this game? That the music is forgettable. It's decent enough. I never really thought about the music in any type of profound way. It's okay for what it delivers. And I was satisfied for what I was given. It's a mediocre adventure at best. Definitely the art style is what sells this game, the whole aesthetic. And no doubt it is the idea that this is like a Rick and Morty game, basically. Like I said, the writing is one-to-one in everything that Justin does. But that's not a bad thing. I'm a fan of Rick and Morty. I really like it. And I mean, it's just the dialogue. They kind of need to change that dialogue because I it just becomes tasteless after a while. I do think they have what could be a incredible franchise if they decide to push it forward, and it has a lot of promise for what it delivered here. Again, for a small studio, this is very well done and extremely ambitious, but I would say that compared to Journey to the Savage Planet, which I think is the number one game I could compare it to, I would prefer to play that game over this game because that game kind of maintains its sense of dark comedy throughout with a constant. I would say it never gets really annoying as this game has a tendency to do. Now, it is not that short. People have been complaining it's too short. I think it's a decent length. 8 hours is a decent length. In my second playthrough, I beat it in 5 hours because I didn't explore as much. I was able to just rush through the game. You do get currency in order to upgrade your character, but you will earn enough currency through the bounties that you never really have an issue for money. Like, the boxes you get within the world are more than suffice. They give you enough boxes on your main route that you don't really need to go out and look for it. It's mainly just for achievement purposes. And they do have some cool optional content that they kind of tuck away in very dark comedy escapades. It kind of feels like they just wanted to play with the idea of like the Rick and Morty portal system in this game, and they do that. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's just there for pure entertainment. It has nothing to do with what's going on. The main character, you probably noticed I never really talked about them. They're a mute. Basically, they put on a helmet and you never see them again. They're just there. And Kenny, basically, I would say Kenny's actually the main character, speaks on your behalf no matter what decision you make. So it's kind of pointless where you choose your face at the beginning of the game. So, High on Life, do I think it deserves the high praise that it's getting from the user base? I don't think so. I think it's mostly Rick and Morty and Justin fans who are really highly praising this game. But at the same time, I don't believe it deserves like those very low scores that it's getting. It absolutely doesn't. Yeah, it has technical issues. Again, small team, I'm going to give them a pass on this. The game crashed on me about 5 times. When the game would load, it would crash. When I died, it would crash. Like, it was always like I would say a 30% chance it would crash. There were glitches with the animations, like characters would stand up and then die when they were supposed to be dead 100%. They would slide across the environment. In one instance, Kenny's gun, the gun Kenny would just phase through your arm. I might place them up onto this video just to give an example of what was going on. But, I'm sure they'll fix it over post-game patches. But I don't think it deserves very low scores. I would say at most this game deserves maybe a 6 or a 7, like 6.5 out of 10. It is an average space adventure game. It will definitely hinge on whether you like Justin Roiland's content. It definitely hinges on that. So I would recommend that if you don't know whether you want to invest time into this game or not, because it is on Game Pass, I would say watch a few clips of his cartoons on YouTube. Rick and Morty would be the number one. Solar Opposites. I don't know any of his other works. I think Trove Saves the World is another thing that he probably did. I can't remember. That seems to make sense in some way. But definitely Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. If you don't... sorry. No, cut there. Yeah. Watch those clips. If you don't like it, you're not going to like this game. The gameplay is just not there. But definitely hinges on that. Either way, tell me what you think about High on Life. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you meet between like I did? If you liked the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. If you want to go the extra mile, Patreon, the thanks button, join in the channel. There's great ways to support. And I'll be putting more content on High on Life up as this video continues. But I just wanted to put the review out there because I wanted it as fresh in my mind as I could. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know your time is valuable, and I hope you have a good day. Goodbye.